And the magic machine tells me that I'm live. Okay. So, in the links below, you will see links to, amongst other things, the original video that's under review, the latest David Wilcock live stream that took place this Sunday. Giving up the pretense that he was going live just because amazing things demanded it. He's conceded that he's going to be, I think he's kind of given up he's let us know that Sundays you can expect to see him. He'll be streaming live. The reason that I'm coming to you guys and gals and everybody in between is because I couldn't look last Patreon live stream. The links below, you'll see links to my Patreon. It's been on Patreon that I've been doing this ongoing coverage of David Wilcock. Ongoing presentations for the most part. I think I've been doing them elsewhere, but I've been concentrating on trying to funnel people to. I, unlike David Wilcock, am not monetized by YouTube. You can support me on Patreon. We've been over this, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but I thought I would give people. I am an expert at whatever I say that I'm going to do, I don't do. So I recently said I was going to be doing the Patreon. I was going to be doing card pulls on Patreon to try and give people what they would find value of, and then proceeded to not do that and do what I was doing on Patreon, which was lengthy exposés and critiques of the people that I've been doing lengthy exposés and critiques upon. But by way of giving people maybe a taste of what I've been doing there, which will mean invariably that if you do like what I'm about to do, support me on Patreon, because I will be doing something else there. Because that's how we do it. Folks, I was not going to hide this under a bushel on Patreon. Folks, fair use, fair use, fair use. I'm not going to say anything that requires any speculation on my part. I'm not going to need to do anything that requires me to do any speculation at all. I'm just going to be able to tell you, look, this is going to be involving no criticism, no editorialization at all. I'll just need to tell you exactly what David Wilcock said last Sunday, which constitutes what I've been, saying has been happening, which is, look, in 2019, Contact in the Desert, right? I feel like I should put on my Hunter S. Thompson voice. It was all happening right there, right before the great crest of the wave hit. We didn't know what was going to happen. That's a horrible Hunter S. Thompson. But regardless, they played the Star Wars music. It was a packed house. And the guy that introduced David Wilcock, who I got to tell you, I think was the same guy I saw hanging out with Walter Bosley. It wasn't me. I was hanging out with Walter Bosley too, but I don't know. But introduced David Wilcock as the guy who was a rock star in this community, meaning the, Contact in the Desert, Alien Infocon, this whole brouhaha kind of community. And I just want to say, either something horrible happened to this community, or this community, it's like, like that line, that scene in 16 Candles, where like Farmer Ted is like, he's like talking about like his friends. He's like, yeah, but I'm kind of like the leader. He's like, I'm kind of like, so I'm like kind of king of the dipshits. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like, you know what I mean? Like the head Boy Scout. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, you look really cool until like, it's like, it's like, Cat Williams talking about like, like it looks exactly like a prowler, like looks like exactly like a prowler until like someone with an actual prowler shows up. It's like how goths like in the club look like really awesome until like, Vato show up, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what I mean? Please don't take our girls. You know what I mean? Like, no offense, guys. Come on. You know what I mean? We've all been there. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want security to hang out after the show. You know what I mean? So, nothing. You guys can go now? You can go now. We're cool. You know what I mean? Anyway, listen, before I do what David Wilcock done, which is told us too much information. Here's the thing that can happen to you. This is what happens to people that I think generally end up getting categorized as lol cows. I don't think anyone should be categorized as a lol cow, because that is a decent thing for me to say as a human being, and therefore not get the ire of, Google Cloud Technologies, or get some sort of warning or strike or whatever. I say hello to everyone in the live chat. You're all awesome. You're all beautiful people. David Wilcock is a beautiful person with human thoughts and emotions, right? I can relate to David Wilcock. You know what I mean? I understand what it means to be a human being with feelings and emotions. Here's what I think happens to a lot of people on the internet that ends up getting them categorized as a lol cow. If you're only play, Lord knows the times when I have run the risk, if I'm not running the risk right now, if I'm not acting as a low, hey, if your only human connection is the internet community or your internet audience, or if your only human contact besides like your one girlfriend or wife or significant other is the internet, this is like where I think the trouble really starts to happen, because you end up just speaking the way you need to speak. Everybody needs to get stuff off their chest, right? Everybody needs to communicate what's happening with them. And if the only place you have to communicate is the internet in public, then you're going to do so. And the problem is that that's not necessarily a great thing, because a lot of the shit that you probably have to communicate about is probably shit that's best left in private, because it's just self-evident. It's obvious, folks. If you're an adult, you know what I mean? You know that not everyone is going to be compassionate and kind. And look, it's just some of your stuff you want to keep on the low. So David Wilcock, in a process, I think of, look, at one point 2 years ago, he was married. Hey, dude, you know what I mean? Um, you know what I mean? Like, I've had significant relationships that, like David Wilcock, did not last from Contact the Desert 2019. And, look, technically, you know what I mean? He's 0 for 1, I'm 0 for 2. It's the way it goes. Having said that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still on good terms with my ex-wife. So it's not competition. The point is this. While you know that I've got a divorce, you know what I mean? You don't know, you know what I mean? Like, everything. But he's letting us know a lot. Here's the thing. he's let us know a lot over the time that he's been doing these updates. He's letting us know more and more. And I'm going to be straight up with you. What I heard him say, oh, you've heard me say this before, like he said stuff that I've been like, damn, son, you just let us know an awful lot. He has told us about his IRS things that he's tried to kind of like, and I don't know if David Wilcock knows this, like there's a ton of shit that's available on the public record. And David Wilcock needs to know, just like there are people that sweat me, there are people that sweat me. There are people that sweat me. They have. There are people that sweat me, that have tried to stalk me, that tried to do shit. There are people that David Wilcock has to know sweat him. And he has to know, or he should know, that things like, his public, like there's stuff that's available on public record. You know what I mean? Like everybody's like a lot of like major real estate transactions, like your deeds, like, like things are on the public record, like, just like deed transfers, like tax assessors, like this, like mortgage things, like that stuff's like on the public record. Like it's just there. Like, I don't think he understands like that he is a public figure and he's done all sorts of crazy stuff and people sweat him. It just is what it is. I don't, but people do. And now he's gone out and said like stuff, I think because he's at a kind of desperate place. So he's given people so much just raw information that I think is fine. I don't hate David Wilcock, but David Wilcock has told us basically like the entire up and down of what's the reality of David Wilcock's life. He has told us the IRS, we speculated in the past that he was going to have troubles at some point in the future with the IRS. He has told us on the record, unless he's lying to us, he has told us that the IRS have an action against him. Okay? And that he's got lawyers for it. That's a big deal. Now he's gone forward, and in this last transmission, this is stuff that he has said. I am not saying anything that he hasn't said himself in the video that I put in the links below. And I'm only saying this because it's like, I got to tell somebody. I got to talk about it because it's like blowing my mind that we've come to this point. There's a guy on the internet, another guy that's qualified and classified by the internet community at large as a lolcow by the name of DSP, Dark Side Phil. And Dark Side Phil loves it when people support him, not through Google AdSense revenue streams like super chats and super thanks. So he welcomes them. He likes it when people tip him directly, so that he gets the money right away. But the problems that he has with that is that he becomes subject to chargebacks. Occasionally, when people dispute them, they'll give him money and then they'll charge it back. On this last stream, David Wilcock made a complaint about chargebacks. But now here's the thing. And it went into an ongoing saga. Horse Lover Fat, we see you. Letting the veil drop. I told you people sweat me. Anywho. David Wilcock accepts his money through super chats, through Google. You don't usually get chargebacks through Google. A chargeback is when someone donates to you and then disputes the donation, disputes it, and tries to take back the money. Google are kind of famous for not letting those chargebacks go through. But here's the story that David Wilcox said and told us, that there were chargebacks, and the chargebacks were so bad, he did not have money. And so that he had to contact a super secret benefactor that he met at he came to several of his conferences, and he had to call the secret benefactor and have the secret benefactor send him money, an emergency check, and that he had to wait around all week and couldn't leave the house because he had to wait around for this check to arrive from Betterell Bebex. Like he had the big deal about saying the name of the company that was supposedly overnighting the check. The person, he kind of bemoaned the fact that the person only elected to send the check to him 2-day delivery instead of, I guess, overnighting it. But the week before, you have to remember that David Wilcock was talking about receiving multiple donations from people at a conference and having enough money to get a new fridge. And you also have to remember that David Wilcock lives in a multi-million-dollar home. Folks, it's very likely that David Wilcock's house payments are probably being paid by someone else. Now, this has just been an incredible amount of information for David Wilcock to tell us all. He also told us that we know that he's been talking about, for these last half dozen live streams that he's been doing on these regular Sunday live streams, that this Servati Aerospace conglomerate that he's part of, we know that at a certain point, based on statements that he was making, it sounds as though he was bankrolling this initiative, investing his own money in it, that he then at one point said he could no longer afford to keep afloat, invest his own money in. The last stream that he made that I'm commenting on, he said that one thing that he learned in this thing is that he's been, having all these meetings with people through this, with this Beskar guy that's part of it, and that they meet these people and it's all very spicy and people are very funny, and he's been talking about he's supposed to have a deal with an African nation that's going to buy all these planes, and they were going to build planes with Japan or Mitsubishi or something. But what he disclosed in this last stream, link in the description box below, was that what he learned is that all these deals and offers turn out to be what? Scams. The people are just full of shit. They don't have money. They're just bullshitters. And I don't want to say anything, I don't want to go off in the realm of speculation, but I got to tell you something. Having seen this guy, Chris Beskar, at this recent conference that happened, I got to tell you, I wonder if David Wilcock is aware of the fact that the person that might be part of this whole scam operation might very well be this person that I got to tell you, saying the whole thing about this whole Stravati thing from the first time I heard about it, which was at Contact in the Desert 2019, where they were supposed to be what? This person was supposed to have hovercraft car technology, anti-grav technology ready to go, and they were supposed to be ready to bring out hover cars within a year or something. It's like Elon Musk 3.0. Only at least Elon Musk had Tesla cars. We are really at the point now where, we're seeing what the reality of the end of the rainbow, I think, is. And I don't make the video in order to, gloat or to be like this, but to say, look, here we are. This is what happens. Like, this is it. Like, people need to know at the end of the day, you cannot turn chicken shit into chicken salad. I mean, unless you're really into eating, poultry, fecal matter, you're not going to want to eat that sandwich. You know, the kids play the invisible instruments going down Main Street. That's like them, making the best out of a bad situation. But the dude was still a con artist. Do you know what I mean? God bless the true believers, but damn to hell the scammer. And it may be the fact that David Wilcock is a true believer. But for shame, if he turns out to be the true believer that's left holding the bag. Because however much money he made from Conference A or Conference B or Conference C, you can call it karma, you can call it justice, you can call it, the wheel of whatever. But it seems as though whatever money has been made went right back into somebody else's pay pouch. Because it's not a matter of speculation. It's a matter of David Wilcock has let us know. He's at the point where he's making phone calls. He's having to call people up and say, I don't have the money. I need you to wire me X amount. And the thing about that is when you get to that point, you can make that phone call. And the person, will send you some green. But depending on who you're calling, depending on how often you're calling them, there's usually only so many times you can tap that well before that well runs dry. And it's just no way you want to live. It's just no way to live. It was also very clear from the way that David Wilcock was speaking that, that some of the money got, taken out of his, bank account, maybe because he got, um, maybe he overdrafted his accounts or whatever. But what you do in those situations usually is, if people say this, is that, like, he's talking about he's been living up there for 2 years or whatever. Usually what you do is you don't put in another refrigerator because you can't deal with the humming of the sound driving you crazy. Sucks, but what you do is you sell the house. You sell the house. You tighten your strings. You know what I mean? You do this, you do that. It's easier said than done, but you got to do what you got to do. But there's a whole bunch of stuff about the whole situation that doesn't make a lot of sense to anybody. He's talking about, like, I had two legal things, but they're some of those two of those things are behind me now. I think he's referring to some of those things because he was like like a co-plaintiff or co-defendant in some of the things related to the lawsuit that I was involved in, because, like, one of the defendants had, or co-plaintiffs had one action against him. But that's like, don't worry about counting some of those things as legal things against you if you got a thing about the IRS against you. I don't know, folks. The point is this. The reality is the reality is the reality. You want to believe in the quantum financial system? You want to believe in Donald Trump? You want to believe in Elon Musk? Okay. You want to believe in Bitcoin to the moon? Okay. You believe in anything you want to. But closing arguments happened. And despite what the New York Post wants to say, the likelihood is that with the charges and fees that he already has, he's already kind of very much screwed. And he's, with the election results we've seen ranked up in the past, it is very, 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 very unlikely that we're going to see another presidential term from Donald Trump, despite the fact that such pundits as David Wilcock and Kerry Cassidy thinks that it is a foregone conclusion that he will be vested yet again. A prayer for David Wilcock. I feel for David Wilcock. I have nothing against the man. The Chariots on a journey, moving. Headed in a direction. At a certain point, the die is cast. Things need to work out. Energies need to flow. If you follow the Tao, the watercourse way, and you can go with the flow and go with the flow of nature, you go with the flow and you see things as they are and you go with the flow of nature. If you can't go with the flow and you can't accept things as they are, and you need to make things the way you need to make them be, you can crash against the rocks. You need to know when things are not working. And you need to know when things are just simply never going to work. And woe be to the person who can't figure out that you're hanging out with scammers. And it seems like, Dave, is he's letting us know that the people that have invested so far and are going to invest so far were all scammers. And that's good that he's realized that, you know what I mean? Now, where he's letting us know that that's been the case. But now that he knows that that's the case, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do now? Are you going to accept the fact that, I mean, how could you think this stuff is true, Dave? How could you think? Like, how could you think? But if he's thought the things that he's thought so far, how is it going to change? You know? How can you save a man from himself? It's not our job. But we can realize what we've realized. And that Dave Wilcock has told us that the David Wilcock last week couldn't go out at all because he had to wait around for a check that he had to request from a powerful benefactor, rich benefactor, because the donations that he was getting from people didn't come through because of quote unquote chargebacks that are not associated with super chats. Those are associated with PayPal tips. I've never heard someone refer to chargebacks in any other context other than tips from PayPal. I've never heard anyone talk about chargebacks from super chat donations. But this is the first time for everything, so I don't know. Seven of Wands. If people are familiar with the traditional Seven of Wands imagery from the Rider-Waite deck, you can know that one can associate this card with some trickery, some tomfoolery, some trying to make things happen. Well, no, actually, no, I'm confusing this with the Seven of Swords. I apologize. Seven of Wands is standing tall, standing strong. But I see that the first card that I drawed with was the Chariot, the seven, which is the seven of trumps, and now we have the Seven of Wands. So we have these two sevens. Spirit of 77. Let me bring it to the live chat. Because I told you the news. The news is this. I mean, we don't need to gild the lily. You don't need to, like I said, I don't need to editorialize. I told you what has happened. He's told us that the lucrative deals that he's been talking about, he realizes, he tells us now that they've all been scams. They've all been people that have been full of crap, essentially. I don't know if he's going to make the connection to realize that the whole thing is probably you get what you pay for, because the hovercraft technology, no offense, I think I can say without fear of, I think the reasonable conclusion can be that it's the doctrine of impossibilities. If there was groundbreaking technology afoot, it would attract the attention of legitimate investors and would have gotten picked up by some. Also, the person wouldn't be looking for their principal investor at this point to be David Wilcock, right? No offense, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb here and say that I can use a reasonable person standard to say reasonable person analytics would say you can look at Chris Beskar and say it is more likely than not that this person is a scam artist versus that this person is actually the missing link between the fictional Nikola Tesla and, Albert Einstein. This guy's got the secret juice, that he's got technology that can change the world and has just been doing what with it? Nothing with it, waiting for Keshe Foundation to get off its ass and pick up the phone. I mean, this is just, folks, it's just, it is what it is. What is more likely the case? That the secret underground technology that can change the world is waiting, with a guy, to the guy that's spending his time giving, lectures at Best Westerns in the backwoods of Colorado to hook up with, Nigerian prince, or that person is full of crap. Or that Otis Carr, the man behind elevator technology, actually built a UFO because somebody said so. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Prove me wrong. I'm going to go with the reasonable person standard that says that I'm not irresponsible or in reckless disregard of the truth or the possibility of the truth by saying that my spidey sense says that the guy's full of shit. And it's more likely than not that the guy is just, a fantasyist, playing games with people's hearts and emotions because, Skechers. Do you know what I mean? It just is what it is. We say hello to Tim Frey first in the live chat. We say hello to Jonaside, earning that silver medal. We say hello to Phil Blair, third in the live chat, grabbing that bronze. Golden Coin 100. Honorable mention on today. Golden Coin 100, though, first in the live chat on Twitch. There you go. There you go. We have Pragmagic in the house. There you go. We have Mario Heat, second in the live chat on Twitch. There you go. There you go. We got Amy Collins with us. We see Bucky here with us as well. We see Whores, Lovers, Fat. Never can say goodbye. Hey, how you doing? There you go. Do. We have Victorian Greyjoy. Does Wilcock actually read Super Chats? Most certainly they do. Victorian Greyjoy, they most certainly do. Nico Budke. Wait, so how does one get chargebacks from bots? Could he not pay the bot farm? No, but I'll say this. Also, look, Wilcock very much, I will say, it confirms the use of bots by the fact that he very consistently will say, we have X number of viewers. We should get up to 4,000 shortly. We should get up to 3,000, 4,000. He nails it. He'll predict that they'll get to 3,000, 4,000 live viewers. I think the reason he's able to do that is because he knows how much he's paid for in bot views. That seems fairly obvious. Also, if you look at the speed with which his live chat goes, with the supposedly 3,000, 4,000 live viewers, and you compare that to the way the live chats go with people like was it Hassan Piker or even Vaush or some of the people, even smaller people that I've seen will have, you know, their chats going with viewership of like 100 people, 150, 200 people. You'll see their chats can be going like rocket ships, and they've got a partial amount of the live viewers that David is supposed to be having. It's just a total disconnect. Also, if I understand correctly, he's got all these super chat donations, but I don't know if he's got memberships enabled on his channel, or he doesn't seem to have memberships engaged on his channel, or talk about members on his channel. So there's a lot of disconnection. Also, people have made suggestions to him about, why don't you set up like a Patreon? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And for a guy that's got so many money problems, he'll act like, no, 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 no. I'm okay with super chats. He has a very strong reaction to people telling him to do anything new. Now, listen, people who know me know that I've been doing the same thing over and over again. I'm a creature of habit. I hardly ever set up thumbnails or do anything like that. So I know what it can be to be a creature of habit. But I'm also a guy that's got, you know, multiple things going on. I got a family. I spend time with my kids. I do this. I do that. I spend time with my mom. I take care of my mom part of the time. You know, I got different things going on. This guy does fucking nothing except to hang out in one fucking house, do one thing with his books or whatever, the e-publishing or whatever. So if the one thing that he's got to do is maintain this web presence, his website, and take care of these, you know, trying to make money or monetize his you know, YouTube presence, then setting up channel memberships seems like a no-brainer. And the fact that he doesn't, and the fact that he then starts complaining about chargebacks, means that there might be a problem with Google AdSense and them having a problem with charging back, not necessarily just on the super chats, but maybe them charging back on the AdSense revenue, which might explain why he was talking about getting money taken out of his account, unless there was some other overdraft that he was talking about. And like I said, I don't want to say anything that sounds like I'm making a defamatory comment or speculating outside of the bounds, and just stick to statements that he's made. But anyway you slice it, things aren't great groovy in Wilcock Town. And any way you slice it, it's, you know, it is what it is. And any way you slice it, the guy is still trying to he's gone from, if we're using the secret space program whistleblower school paradigm of, he was once the handler to the insiders, now he's trying to make himself the insider. But he's trying to have this like cake and eat it too. This stuff happened to me, but it happened in this alternative lifetimes. And it's like kind of like fricassee, and I don't think it's working. It is what it is. And I think the stuff is kind of like, you know, worn out its welcome. And I think that a lot of this stuff has to do with, you know, fashions and trends and, you know, what's in this year and what's out this year. And I think a lot of people love you when you're on the ascent. And when you're on the descent, people burn their uniforms. And you see it now. You see it with Donald Trump getting booed at the Libertarian Conference. You see it now with people not showing up or walking out of his conferences and events. When you're kicking butt and taking names, there's 1,003 people that are willing to, you know, get kicked in the head for you, and willing to, you know, maybe do this or maybe do that for you. But when you're losing, when you're on the losing end, it looks like you're going to go down in flames, people don't want to know. Come back from the dead, and then, well, really more importantly, 2,000 years after you come back from the dead, when you're on the winning team, kill them all, let God sort them out. But in the meantime, when people are getting crucified in your name or getting thrown to the lions, forget it. It's a hard sell. Only the crazies are joining up. So when you're on the majority team, that's when it's easy to be like, yeah, hell yeah. I'll say to myself, fuck yeah. You know what I mean? Or it's like indie cred, you know what I mean? We got Spooky Bed here with us as well. We got Sam Shadow. Hey, CW, quietly watching in the background during a sick day. Hey, listen, whatever, may you get better soon. May I not exacerbate your illness. Amy Collins, I think his mind is getting softer than usual and his brain droppings are revealing things that should not be said in public, personal and financial stuff. I don't think he's got anyone else to speak to. So when you have no one else to speak to, it's just like a King Cobra JFS. When you have no one else to speak to, but the camera in front of you, you end up telling the camera everything, especially if you start, drinking the liquid courage and start, freeing yourself up. Here's the other thing that I'll call a challenge on. David Wilcock, 2 weeks ago, took a criticism about his hair. And this week, someone said, "Oh, you cut your hair." And he said, "Oh, no, I cut it myself." I call a challenge. He says he didn't leave the house for 2 weeks for all week because he couldn't leave the house because he was waiting for this check. If you see David Wilcock's hair, it appears to be layered. He's got curly hair. That's not easy to do. I don't even cut my own hair. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe he's good at cutting his own hair. I call a challenge. Now listen, I've been wrong before, and I could definitely be wrong about a dude cutting his own hair, but I think I was calling bullshit. You know what I mean? He at least went to supercuts. Now here's what's funny. When David was talking about Terrence Howard, I didn't know about this dude Terrence Howard who had appeared on Joe Rogan. I kept on thinking he was talking about the black dude, the actor Terrence Howard. Isn't there Terrence Howard as an actor? David and Terrence Howard need to collaborate on the anti-grav Air Force concept. Yeah. 22 viewers. Leave this man a like and subscribe. Absolutely. Is he not expecting BS artists? Apparently not. Apparently not. Victorian Greyjoy, go off, CW. It's been a while. I'm not going to listen. With friends like you, I don't need enemies. You know what? You know what? Listen. No way. Victorian Greyjoy? No way. Peace, love, and axle grease. I do not know. Have you taken a look at my unclaimed for legal fees? Are you kidding me? Buy me a car and I'll go off. Hey, listen, Victorian Greyjoy, you send me a 2-day express check for my unpaid legal fees. I'll go off on anybody you want to. Hey, I'll tell you what. Here's the unrecouped balance. I think the last thing we checked was like 30 almost $37,000 or whatever. It was it's big money. Listen, I'll tell you what. You send me a check for my unrecouped legal fees, I'll talk shit about anyone you want to. I'll talk shit about Yurka from Gaia TV. You know what I mean? I'll go low. I'll say shit about his mother. You know what I mean? I'll say something about Tesla. Tesla trucks will take off your finger, allegedly. Phil Blair, you heard all these testimonials against Tesla. Elon is a man-made egomaniac. Yeah, absolutely. Here you go. Renee, we say hello to Renee. Renee Miss Genocide. You're just lurking, not anymore. We see you right there in person. Amy Collins, my prediction: within 1-2 years, he'll be working on an ordinary job or sleeping on one of his sycophants' couches. Listen, now here's the thing that's crazy about David Wilcock. Now listen, some folks, I don't know, folks. I don't know how David Wilcock Well, he said, he'll say, like, I'll be at conferences and people come up to me and they'll say they've already got the line lined up where, you know what I mean, was your ex-wife or lover and 2 lifetimes ago, and they'll have it all lined up, and I'll be like, oh yeah, well, if you give me that line, it probably won't work. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, yeah, no, you want to be selective, but at the same time, yeah, he's complaining about like this monastic life or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying you should sleep with everybody. Do you know what I mean? There's someone for everybody. I listen. I don't know what it's gonna take to make David Wilcock happy. Clearly, Elizabeth Wilcock wasn't the one. I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like, if you put me in that house and David Wilcock, I don't know. I'm not David Wilcock. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I would have ended up in that situation myself because I don't know. I'm not that type of guy. It's so hard to imagine. He'd be working an ordinary job. You should be. All these people, look, first of all these people, well, technically he's working an ordinary job. I mean, working, I guess, like all this thing. It's just, this is what people do on planet Earth. I can't believe that he's not in a better position than he is. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you'd think that he'd be able to figure out moving some other chick in there to, I'm gonna write these books and you go work at Kroger's or something. Like, I don't know, like, it makes no sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the guy is like, look, I mean, say what you want about him being a scammer. It's like, it's like low. I don't know. I'm not trying to encourage the guy to scam. Maybe I'm showing my own. I don't know. Tarot cards. What are my problem? What am I not seeing about myself? Let me ask that question. Even though we got 2 cards out. Come on. Lay the truth on me. What do I get? 10 of Pentacles. I think it's like material wealth can't like make a home. Like, you can't just like, throw anything in there. It's got to be, he's got to have to live the complete and full life. You had to have gone there organically. I think it's like if the house is not, arrived at organically, you can't just, you can't just throw, just, a rando in there. You know what I mean? It's got to be the real thing. Maybe. His last stream was a diagnostic of a con being conned, and they're all cons. Yeah, I mean, I only watched the first hour when I got to this thing, and I just wanted to get out here and be like, do something with it. Squandered it all. I'd like to ask one question. Was it worth it? I don't, you know what I mean? You'd have to ask him. Mystical thinkers taking advantage of themselves to oblivion. Possibly. I wonder what David Wilcock actually believes. My take on it has always been that David Wilcock at this point, it still is that David Wilcock is truly a true believer. Is that David Wilcock is hurt fundamentally inside. This is me not trying to be insulting to anybody. This is me just trying to be based on my reading of his book that I read 3/4 of, and watching countless hours of the man stream, and being to identifying with the parts of him that I can identify with, listening to him and what I can identify with my own look, simultaneously having grand visions of oneself and being able to present at times as being a highly egomaniacal, self-obsessed person who thinks of themselves conceivably so highly, yet at the same time sharing stories of pain and of personal weakness and of trauma, so kind of mollusk fragile. It's just textbook, hurt, wounded inner child, human. He wants to be a genius because he's clearly not, a man's man, kick your ass, touchdown pass. But fact is, look, if you look at the mental output of him or me, we're not geniuses, but we're smarter than the average bear, probably. So we can identify that we're probably smart, probably this quality more so than it's obvious that we're, physically great people. But come on, we're not geniuses. But like I said, if you can't assess the truth, if you can't come to terms with the fact that, hey, buddy, you want to be a genius. Wouldn't it be great if you were able to figure out and know? And wouldn't it be great if there was, if this was real and the angelic things and everything was going to line up was amazingly real? But if you're not able to come to terms with, hey, if all the stuff in this book was true, it'd be amazing. But if you can't come to terms with the fact that, hey, squaring it with looking hard at the reality of science and the reality of practicality, let's be honest, this stuff probably is metaphor and allegory and not true. You speak of the true. When you say the cards, the crystals, the meditation, it has effectiveness and efficiency to do things, and those things say something about aspects of reality, but they don't dictate all of reality, clearly, because of these other things that we need to take in consideration. So Star Wars and Star Trek are not documentaries. It's not the case that the law of one materials are infallible and, Fatima and, Guantanamo Bay is where they put Hillary Clinton's clone to put her in the exercise dimension envelope to send her back to the Draco space colony for re-examination by source creator. You got to be able to accept the reality. And if you can't, then to the degree that your obsessions diverge from the true is the degree that you're going to manifest difficulty getting along and keeping up with others. And when you're in the hot zone and things are going good, things may go really good. But as things go further afield, the chaos and the entropy may hit wild card status. And I think that's where we are with David. When things were going good, 2012, the lead up to 2012 or right after 2012, things were going good. And then when things got fricazy and people started getting high on their own supply, and then things got really out of hand, which was obviously not just the mix up with Mendoza, but the whole thing with everybody getting mixed up and that whole crew getting mixed up with everyone that got mixed up with T-Dog and the magic letter associated with the whole T-Dog MAGA phenomena. Everyone who got involved in that has gone down, kind kind of crazy train. And there's some people that can figure out that they need to pull away and do something else and make it about something else and go in a different direction. There's some people that have actively burned their uniforms and rebranded. And there's some people that just will not give up the ghost. And they're still out here talking about MAGA and the whole armor of Trump and the magic letter and Wano Savin as JFK Jr. And okay. Hey, who knows what the future holds? We still got a little bit of time before the next election cycle. You still got X number of days before the jury sits down and returns a verdict in the first criminal trial of a former president. We'll see what happens. It's already had a number of effects on our political landscape, and we'll definitely have more in the future. I'm looking at the live chat. There's no trade. There's nothing to be forgiven. We love you, Horse Lover. We love you, Vanessa. You're awesome. The deck that I've got right now is the Egyptian Tarot from 2003, Renee. Rooster Roboto, David Wilcock is lately, his latest emanation or incarnation has been to talk about the rediscovery that certain dreams that he had from some point in time is now understood by him to have been revelations from the Archangel Michael. So he's got a series of books that he transcribed over the last, I guess, 2 years, but they were actually dreams that he had starting in, I guess, 1996 or thereabouts that are Archangel Michael interpreted, dreams from that were dictated by Archangel Michael that turned out to be prophetic of things that happened in 2000. So make of that what you will. My favorite is Kerry Cassidy talking to David Wilcock, acting like a hitman was going to come and get him. I remember, of course, that's like a golden oldie. David, you're surrounded by a pyramid of white light. And I told you, if you want to support me on Patreon, you'll hear me talking about David. I just read it out. David said that what David Wilcock is doing is a form of volunteer military service. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, folks. It's just what he says. You gotta love Rooster Roboto. You gotta love David's ego if he's being real. He's absolutely being real. There's no doubt in my mind that David is 100% on the level that there is no. I don't believe that there's any artifice to David Wilcock's presentation. I don't believe that David Wilcock is giving us a manufactured image. Do I think that everything that David Wilcock says is true according to David Wilcock? I don't necessarily know if I go that far, but I don't think that David Wilcock is I don't think that David Wilcock doesn't believe these things. I believe that David Wilcock believes these things. I believe that David Wilcock believes that when NASA, did science experiment X, Y, or Z on such and such a date on the solar eclipse, that when he says that they did that as a ritualized attack on him, that he is saying the truth, that he believes they did that ritual attack on him. You know what I mean? That I believe that when he tells you that Archangel Michael spoke through him and is telling him that he's going to be like a head of an intergalactic UN, that is what he believes. You know what I mean? I don't believe the personal benefactor is his mom or dad. I don't believe the personal benefactor is his mom or dad. His mom or dad are known entities. People, like I said, David Wilcock has been doing this for so long. I got to tell you something, folks. The notion that the only people that are working on documentaries about Party X or Party Y are the people that you guys know about, believe you me, folks, folks, there are people that research all of these cats and kittens. Okay? I know who David Wilcock's dad is. David Wilcock's dad is a published author who has had articles written in Rolling Stone magazine. He's got interviews that are available on YouTube. His mom is a person. She's a professional. Okay? She still works. People know who his mom is. Okay? Neither of these people are the people that are paying for his mortgage payments. Neither of these people are taking care of him. Okay? These people have rich benefactors. They do, but I gotta tell you something. I've talked about this before. The rich benefactors that these people probably have are people that are baby boomers. They're ex hippies that are just people who got tons of money, and money runs out. There you go. We have LW with us. Beskar is the reincarnation of Captain Morgan. After how many Captain Morgans, right? My friend has a bet. You look just like Captain Morgan. Are you a pirate? Maybe. You want a little captain and you raises his little foot. Come on. You're wrong, CW. I want my hover car. Listen. Life on life's terms. Okay? You're not going to get a hover car. Etc. Etc. No hover car for you. Here we go. Listen to this guy. Richard Roboto. If he can predict his view count, maybe perhaps he's psychic. Absolutely. Perhaps. 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 You think she's right? Because I know that's what some of you want to believe. It's just a little hard for me to believe. Because I was there. Back to school? No. Okay, anyway. Anywho, does he have pets, CW Chandler? He does. He has a dog named Girly. Folks, Girly apparently could kick Lom's ass. I don't know. Jury's out. A chargeback is when someone cancels their card and cancels their order. Yeah, no, look, but here's the thing. You can't do chargebacks on, my understanding is you can't do chargebacks on with Google on the super chats. That people are used to do chargebacks on people to screw the live streamers with PayPal donations. Anyway, Talk and Study. Nobody loves you when you're dining out. That's why everybody hates Talk and Study. There you go. Here we go. LW, David's Wyoming Shell Corp that he transferred the property deed to for $0 owes another $5,400 in property tax in June. Allegedly. So it says LW. And who am I to disagree with someone else who says confidently in my live chat that David Wilcox, Wyoming Shell Corporation, they transferred the property deed to for $0 owes another $5,400 in property tax in June. Property tax records are public record that you can see online. Oh, don't get me started on Nick Redica. There you go. David Wilcox is a Wyoming connection. He lives in Wyoming. Same person, CW. I'm getting confused. Did the legal case conclude? Not exactly. You broke CW? Not exactly. Did he get divorced? Yes. And we say hello to Professor Cupcake is Anna Nikki New. Namaste. Is Jay Widener single? Maybe he and David Wilcock can move in together. Well, I don't know. And they could. I don't know. Paranormal Hood Live. We say hello to Paranormal Hood Live. Is David smart? I think he's probably smarter than the average bear. There you go. There you go. Mendoza. There you go. Amy Collins. If I were to pick a year that things really accelerated into the fricassee, I would pick 2015. Very good year. You know, that was the year I turned 40 and celebrated by starting a YouTube channel. If I only knew then what I know now. There you go. We have Kent Speaks joins us as well. We say hello to Kent Speaks. Matt Taibbi has articles published in Rolling Stone. Fair enough. Fair enough. Bucky says personal benefactor may be the Skinwalker Ranch guy who makes the space bean bags. Possibly. I don't think so. I think this might be someone else. Who knows, though? I really don't know. Amy Collins. I doubt he talks to his parents much at all. Like he sends a cheese and sausage platter every 3 or 4 years. We know he just said we know that he just said that he had a heart to heart with his father. And of course, David Wilcock being David Wilcock, the main takeaway that he had with the heart to heart with his father was that the father apologized to him. You thought that David Wilcock lived in Colorado. He lives in Wyoming. My understanding is he lives in Wyoming, but I don't know. Synthetic Rebellion joins us. We say hello to Synthetic Rebellion. David Wilcock maybe too smart for his own good. Fair, look, hey, we're all too smart for our own good. Now I want to choose the sausage platter. That's how it works. All you got to do is send an anonymous check to David Wilcock and wait for your cheese and sausage platter to arrive in the mail. That's what I heard. Folks, I do not celebrate the financial losses or downfall of anyone else. Why? Because I have been there myself. The point is this. I think with David, we've entered full on, and I said it before, and I don't say this. I say this not to celebrate, not to gloat, but just to really assess the situation and to call it like it is. I think it's like Chris Chan territory. I think it's Dark Side Phil territory, right? I don't think it's about ascension. I don't think it's about anything anymore. I think it's just about watching a guy do this thing on the internet now. I don't think you're going to see an influx of new people to the David Wilcock sphere who are coming in because of an attraction to this information. There was a time when I think you could say that people are coming to David Wilcock's YouTube site, his Facebook page, his website, because they see him on Ancient Aliens or they hear about him on this program or that program. Because, like I said, 2012, Ancient Aliens, Ascension. There's something, his cosmic disclosure shows on Gaia or something, that you could understand that his media reach or his ascent in media prominence was growing because of factors. I don't think we can say that those factors are at play anymore. We no longer joke about ancient aliens. The jokes about ancient aliens are played out. The episode of South Park making fun of ancient aliens happened over 10 years ago. I think about. Even the stuff with this Gresh guy. Remember David Grush or whatever? That was like a fucking wet fart. To the Stars Academy and all this stuff, I think, we got to accept the fact that, this stuff is like perennial. Will come by every once in a while, but we see that every time that it comes by, as we live in a highly more technologically advanced society, our ability to be wowed and wondered about the unknown, when so much about the unknown is more and more known, lessens. But some of you will agree with me about those things, and some of you are still fascinated. But when it comes to David Wilcock, I think there might be more agreement about this star has probably reached its apex, and we are probably truly seeing a story of descent. But stories of descent can be beautiful, they can be majestic in their melancholy tragedy. But everyone needs to know, whatever field that they're involved in, if their field is primarily understood as one of entertainment or sales figures. How many tickets did you sell? How many books did you move? How big are you? How many times you get to show up on Coast to Coast AM or whatever? If you're truly a man or a woman or whoever or whatever of spirituality and just doing the Lord or the lady's work or source creator's work, and you don't care about whatever, then you don't care about whatever, and you're going to do what you need to do for the benefit of humanity and all living things regardless. But if you're about making money and putting up the numbers, then you got to understand that one day the numbers are going to be less. And if things don't go forever one way, if you're an actor, an actress, a movie star, a writer, a comedian, a presentation giver, an author, at a certain point, if things aren't working out, you're going to have to pivot. Or If you don't accept the reality of that change and transition, it's going to be tragedy and downfall for you. And you're going to end up the new age equivalent of a new true Hollywood story. But in this tiny world of new age, ufology, conspiracy theory, there is no true Hollywood story. There's just you kind of dying alone in a fucked up situation. So don't do it. Our final card of the night. Damn, Skippy. I came around to it. It's the final card of the night, but it's a card we've already seen before. The Seven of Wands. Stand strong, stand true. Ooh, all sorts of glare coming off of it. When I see the sevens, I see the number of an anthropomorphic god or goddess. Not a supreme deity, but the supreme deities that we used to know in our myths. A god, a goddess, but oh so like us, subject to the foibles that we have. So standing strong, wands, the phallic fire of creation. Seven, that powerful number of a god, but an uneven number. Subject to imbalance and being thrown one way or the other. So we stand strong, we stand true. But we need to know that we can be brave in the force in the face of opposition. But opposition will come. And we may need to ask ourselves, is this a fight worth fighting and standing up against forever? Or should we be supple and bend? And let these seven wands that we have maybe break up into smaller numbers. Find new mathematics and new calculations. Do something different. Rather than just stand here and fight. One way to look at it, one way to think about it. Bucky says, do you think they'd still be more relevant if they didn't hitch their wagons to a certain letter political movement? Absolutely. You never want to call it. And I think what happened for these people is the desire to have it reach a conclusion, to have the story end, and to fix the ending at a given point in time screwed them. It's like these people that say the end of the world is going to happen in 2011 or 2012. Whenever you do that, it's a gamble. You may make a lot of money in the short term. People may join up with you. Like a lot of people sold a lot of books and made a lot of reputations in the lead up to 2012. But once 2012 happened or didn't happen, a whole bunch of people had careers that all of a sudden had no careers. Some people transitioned and had a post 2012 career, but a whole bunch of people didn't. There was a guy, Daniel Pinchback, I think was his name, or something similar. He had a pre 2012 career leading up to 2012, post 2012, totally disappeared. There was another guy, Patrick Giral, pre 2012, had a pre 2012 career leading up, publishing for Adventures Unlimited Press. Post 2012, totally disappeared. Some people made the transition, like David Wilcock made a transition. He was pre 2012, made a post 2012 transition. A lot of people didn't. And there are a lot of people that have have tried to find ways to do post Magic Letter and post MAGA. But unlike 2012, there's a lot of baggage associated with what people said and did in relation to their support of certain people that is harder to walk away from and harder to clean up. But conversations, more conversations to happen, more conversations to be had, but big chance conversations to happen at a later time. I thank you for taking this time to be with me, to hang out with me. Welcome back to Old Faces. Welcome to New Faces. If you like this content, feel free to support it with a like, a comment, and a subscription to the channel if you don't already subscribe. Take a look at the description box below. You will see links to Patreon, where you can support me for as little as $1 a month, where I do live streams and all sorts of other stuff. Take a look at my other channels and feel free to check them out and subscribe to them if you're not subscribed. And there's also a PayPal for one-time donations. No chargebacks, please. I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That somebody's CW Chanter. Make of that what you will, because you already will. Because you will. Until next time.